So what fascinates me, though, at the beginning is the Lord has been teaching a multitude, and then he suggests to the apostles, let us pass over unto the other side. So the reason they're in the boat during the storm is because the Lord tells them to be. And to me, that is significant. So then the storm starts going, and Christ is asleep on a pillow. And they come and they say, Master, carest thou not that we perish? And and there's 4 questions that are asked. And so Christ wakes immediately and calms the storm. And then he turns to them and asks the 2 questions. First of all, why are you so fearful? And second, how is it that you have no faith? And then at the very end, they turn to each other and ask, what manner of man is this that he can calm the seas? So we wanted to cover those 4 questions. And the first one is, carest thou not that we perish? And I think that when life is crazy and struggling, that feeling of carest thou not that we perish, like, do you really care, Lord? And when you're in the middle of...
Oh, I think all of us have felt that in a prayer. Do you really care about me? How can this happen to me if you cared for me?
And relating back to what you talked about before, you see someone else, with this huge miracle in their life or these blessings that you don't have, I think it just kind of perpetuates that.
Right, right. And so it wasn't that they ran to ask him.
Right.
It was that they were like, you don't even care. Like, why didn't you come up and see us? Why wasn't I the widow of Nain where you found me? So, but anyway, I love that Lisa Harkness said, this is a mortal tendency, even a temptation, when we find ourselves in the middle of trials, troubles, and afflictions to cry out, Master, carest thou not that we perish? Save me. Even Joseph Smith pleaded from the awful prison, O God, where art thou, and where is the pavilion that covereth thy hiding place? Certainly the Savior of the world understands our mortal limitations, for he teaches us how to feel peace and calm even when the winds blow fiercely around us and billowing waves threaten to sink our hopes. And I do think it's about hope, because hope is that I am not cared for, that I've been forgotten. Whereas sometimes we have faith that Christ can do it for someone else, but you just don't care about me.
Right.
And so that's amazing. And then the next thing he asks is, why are you so fearful? And then right after that, how is it that you have no faith? And fear kills faith.
It does.
When you're so afraid, it kills faith.
It just takes hope, and hope and faith are intertwined. And so
Right.
once you stop having hope, you stop having faith.
And you can let fear like extinguish your faith. And I do think that's interesting. Elder Rasband in Be Not Troubled talked about, as disciples today, we have too many fears, and we do live in a world of fear. Our single adults fear making commitments such as getting married. I told you I have all those unmarried boys. Young widows fear bringing, young marrieds fear bringing children into the world because the world's increasingly wicked. Widows fear going alone. Teenagers fear being not accepted, major. We fear failure, rejection, disappointment, and the unknown. We fear earthquakes and hurricanes and fires that ravage the land and our lives. We fear not being good enough. We fear that God has no blessing for us. We fear change, and our fears can escalate to terror. And I wanted to talk about my drive down here from Rexburg.
Oh, it was scary.
It was very scary.
It was very scary.
So I do think I drive down, and as I was coming down, I had looked at the forecast, and just like when Christ said, let's pass the other side, and it looked good. It looked like there was going to be no snow. So I had left a little bit later than I should have. I left in the evening, and I started on my way down, and I got to Income, and the snow was just falling in sheets. And you couldn't see the road. You couldn't see the edges of the road. And there's a place where the sides of the road are the same as the road itself, so you didn't even know if you were driving on the highway. And there's a point where I'm just like, why? Why are you doing this? I'm trying to come down for them. I'm trying to be a good girl and do good things. And I was a little bit like, carest thou not that I perish? So I pulled off at the next exit, which was at McCammon. And I pulled off at the traveling J there, and I was like, what should I do? And it was about 10 minutes to 8 o'clock. And I was sitting there going, what should I do? And I just felt really strongly I needed to get a hotel because I was so freaking out. It would be better for everybody. So I went to, actually, it's so funny, the Harkness Hotel. And I wonder
there
if
you
Lisa
go.
Harkness, isn't that funny? 'Cause
Related
it's the
at
same on
least.
Peace Be Still.
That's funny.
Maybe she lives in McCammon and
Yeah, right.
she knows this world. So I went around the corner to the hotel and there was a woman. She said, it's a good thing you got here because I was just about ready to leave. And it's the only hotel that's like close by and you couldn't drive very far. And I just had a little sedan. I didn't have a 4-wheel drive. So I pulled over and I got in and I got this beautiful room and the mattress was soft and it was just so joyful.
So
and
he
then
calmed your storm.
He did
He
calm
calmed
my
your
storm.
which is
and it
great.
was such a gift. It was so great. And as I was going upstairs, you could hear people knocking on the door because she had left right after. And I was so grateful that I had felt so inspired to go immediately because you know how often you just chew on it? So the next morning I go back and there's 4 or 5 cars that had spent the night at the Traveling J
Because
you couldn't drive in it.
Right.
And it was only, if I had been able to drive another 45 minutes, I would have gotten to a place I would have been over it. But it was just so dense there. But I do think that sometimes the Lord can guide us in a way that we can, he didn't still the storm,
Right.
but he gave me a safe place
And he
as I
gave you
turned to
hope,
him.
too,
And he did
and
give me
faith,
hope.
right.
And he made me feel like
He did love
he
you.
did this for me. He loved me. I did feel loved. And it was such a
I'm
gift.
so glad.
So I wanted to ask if you have had moments where you felt like the Lord had calmed your storms or calmed you in the middle of a storm that he didn't calm, because he doesn't always calm.